Hello, my name is Lauren Gray, and this is Lab 1 Charge Tape. So first, I'm going to do a little intro, and then we're going to go into the fundamental principles, the initial conditions/assumptions, the results and errors of the experiment, the glow script code, follow-up questions, and then a conclusion. The purpose of this lab was to explore the interactions between two charged pieces of tape. Then determine the amount of excess charge on one piece of tape. Then use the glow script code to simulate the interactions of the tape. The results of my experiment were that the charge of the tape was 1.112 e to the negative 8 coulombs. The tape had a efficiency of 7 e to the 10 electrons, and the ratio, there are 5.43 e to the 6 atoms for every electron on one piece of tape. Fundamental principles. Some of the fundamental physics principles that we use at this lab include Coulomb's law, the gravitational force, which we use to find the electrical force, the electric field equation, as well as the equation that relates the force to the electrical field. Initial conditions and assumptions. The length of my tape was 0.2 meters, the weight of the tape was 0.0002 kilograms, the distance between the two pieces of tape were 0.024 meters, the system was tape 1 and 2, and the surroundings were the earth. The assumptions that we had was that the air resistance on a moving object is negligible in this experiment. The tape is thought of as a point charge with all of the charge center at the center of the long tape, and that each U-tape I made had about the same amount of charge evenly distributed along the length of the tape. Results and errors. The results of my experiment was that the tape was attracted to my hand, the tape was repelled by the other U-tape, the tape was attracted to the pen, and the tape was attracted to the table in the books that I also tested it against. And the errors of the experiment potentially came from me handling the tape too much and the humidity in the room. Now we're going to take a look at my glow script code. The first thing that I did was to find the important constants that I would use throughout the code, which included Coulomb's constant, the charge of an electron, the mass of my tape, the length of my tape, the width of my tape, the gravitational constant, the distance, and then the scale, the atom length, and then the scale factor that I used. I then used was highlighted in yellow at the top to calculate Q, which would be the charge on one piece of tape. I then used the charge on one piece of tape that I had just found and divided by the charge of an electron to find the deficiency on electrons on the one piece of tape. Then I found the total atoms by multiplying the length of the tape times the width and dividing by the atom length times 2. And then I took this amount and divided by the electron count, which then gave me the ratio for every electron on one piece of tape. Questions. What if electrons had a positive charge and protons had a negative charge? What would change about the observations you made with your tapes and other charged objects? Fundamentally, nothing would change. Our observations about the tape and the other charges would stay the same. This is because like charges will still repel each other and opposite charges will still attract each other. The tape will simply be negatively charged instead of positively charged, as we saw in the experiment. But like I said, nothing would actually fundamentally change about the experiment. And then why is it important to handle the charged tapes as little as possible? What happens when the charged tapes come in contact with your hands or other objects? It is important to handle the charged tapes as little as possible because if there is too much contact with my hands or other objects, some of the charge may dispense. This discharging can cause problems with the rest of the experiment. Ultimately, the two pieces of tapes were attracted to each other due to them having opposite charges. The tape repelled anything that had a like charge to it, like the other U-tape. And then the glow script code showed exactly how these interactions take place.